Hello everyone, this is Mr. Laubach. Thank you for joining me. Today we are going to talk about elections, the Constitution, and specifically presidential elections. So why did the framers of the Constitution create the Electoral College? That is a question we're trying to answer here. But before we get into the reasons behind it, let's quickly break down what the Electoral College actually is. It's the system that we use to elect the President of the United States. Here's how it works. Each state gets a certain number of electors, which is based on its representation in Congress. In total, there are 538 electors these days, and a candidate needs a majority, 270 of those, to win the presidency. So larger states get more electoral votes than smaller states. In most states, it's a winner-take-all system, where the candidate who wins the popular vote in that state takes all of its electoral votes. So as an example, the winner-take-all in Pennsylvania, whoever wins the popular vote in the state, that candidate gets all of their electoral votes. So that was just a really brief overview. Maybe look into it a little bit more on your own. Now let's dive into why the framers of the Constitution set up this system in the first place. We're going to look at 5 reasons. So remember, when the Constitution was being written, it was 1787 at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. The U.S. was still in its infancy, and the framers of the Constitution were trying to figure out how to elect a president. This wasn't an easy task because they had a lot of competing concerns. After much debate, they landed on the Electoral College as a compromise. So why this system? Number 1, they needed to balance the power between large and small states. In a direct popular vote, large states like Virginia or Pennsylvania at the time could have had way more influence than smaller states like Delaware. The framers didn't want smaller states to get overshadowed. Number 2, there was a general distrust of direct democracy. Many of the framers worried that the public might not always be fully informed or could be easily swayed by emotion or charismatic figures running for office. So the Electoral College was designed to serve as a buffer, giving a group of electors who were chosen by the people the final say. This was supposed to add an extra layer of thoughtfulness to the election process. Number 3, there were also logistical concerns. Remember, this was long before we had modern technology. Communication was slow, and counting votes across a huge country would have been incredibly difficult. The Electoral College allowed each state to manage its own election and then have its electors cast their vote on behalf of the state. Number 4, federalism. The framers wanted to maintain a balance of power between the national and state governments. They didn't want the federal government to have too much control over the election. The Electoral College gave states a key role in the process, reinforcing their importance in the federal system. And finally, number 5, the framers were worried about regionalism. They didn't want candidates to only campaign in the most populous regions and ignore the rest of the country. With the Electoral College, presidential candidates are encouraged to appeal to a broad range of states and regions, ensuring that elections aren't just determined by a few big, heavily populated areas. So, in the end, the Electoral College was the framers' solution to a lot of different challenges. It balanced large and small state interests, provided a buffer against direct democracy, dealt with the logistical issues of the time, preserved the role of states in the election process, and helped prevent regionalism from dominating national elections. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned more about the Electoral College and why the framers of the Constitution chose to use it to elect our president. Have a great rest of the day.